Howdy, Chris here. Hey, we're going to do a video on how to get started in WireCAD. Now, this video is how to get started from the outset. It's a very beginner video. What I can't do in the video is I can't tell you how to organize your drawing set. We're going to have to kind of leave that up to you. When you first start the application, WireCAD's going to look like this. You're going to see the application setup wizard, and you're going to see the help file that's open there. You'll notice the help file is open to the application setup wizard, and you can read more on that there. The application setup wizard determines how WireCAD plays on this machine. Notably, what global database type and where to find that database. WireCAD supports either SQL Server or VistaDB, which is a file-based database. My recommendation is to start with the file-based databases because they have no administrative overhead. To do that, simply accept all of the defaults here. WireCAD will show the start page and then the howdy screen. Now, I'm going to disable beginner mode for right now. Beginner mode keeps the help system open and tracking your moves, and it's a great idea if you have dual monitors. If you don't have dual monitors, then this screen can get in the way. I'll go ahead and turn it off, but I recommend you leave it on if you can drag that help window over to its own monitor. The next thing we're going to do is set the look and feel for the application. On the View menu, I'm going to select one of the themes that's darker here. I'll use the Office 2016 black theme here. Also, I'll go to my Settings panel, which is under the Application menu and Settings, and I'll set up the drawing background so that it's black as well. I'll uncheck Drawing Background Follows the Skin theme, and I'll set that explicitly to be a black background, and then I'll save that. I want to create a new project. I'll go to the Project menu and click the New Project menu button. This is the New Project wizard, and as you can see, it presents a bit of an infographic about what we're going to do. We're going to create a top-level folder with our project name. In it, we're going to put a Project Databases folder with our Project VistaDB database, and we're going to have a Drawings folder while we're there. We'll click Next. We'll choose our database type. In this case, we want the file-based VistaDB databases. Again, zero administration, easy to use. They're already on your machine. It just works. We'll click Next, and we'll name the project. We'll call this project Getting Started with WireCAD. Now, you want to avoid using any characters in the name field that the operating system wouldn't like. I also recommend not using the apostrophe. It's the SQL escape character, and it can throw off some queries. Now, the description can show up in reports, so be descriptive. I usually put my initials in for the project lead person, and then I click Next. Here we see some WireCAD project level settings. We've got things like starting cable numbers for sequences and how we number stuff and what the defaults are and stuff like that. How do we generate numbers? How do we deal with locations? Once we're ready to go, we just click Finish. WireCAD does all of the work to create the project and all of its constituent parts. And when we're done, we should see Finished here in the wizard log. If we don't see Finished, we'll probably see an error here because the operating system or the SQL Server or something didn't like something we were doing. But we're all good to go, so I'll dismiss this. So WireCAD has created my Getting Started with WireCAD project, and it's opened it for me. With our project open, we're ready to add a new drawing. So in the Project Explorer, I'll go ahead and double-click the New Drawing node here. I'm prompted to select a template drawing. Template drawings in WireCAD are drawings that are preloaded with things. You can make your own templates, but we've sent along a handful of them. I'm going to go ahead and use the ANSI A through E template. This template is preloaded with page borders one per layout, that will allow you to output to ANSI A through E size drawings. On the next page, I'm going to enter the drawing name. I won't put the extension on here. WireCAD will do that. If I need multiple drawings using the same template, I can simply add one drawing name per line. I'll click Next, and I'm prompted to insert model space boundaries. I'll go ahead and turn these on using the defaults, but I'll recommend that you go to the help file to look at how these are created and what these defaults represent. We'll next and we'll finish, and WireCAD will create the new drawing for us. Because I'm using model space boundaries, and because this is the first drawing in the session since I've opened the application, WireCAD reminds me that it wants me to draw in the model space using this tab down here and not the selected paper space or layout. I'll dismiss this now, and WireCAD will continue to build the drawing and its page border model space boundaries. When it's done, it'll dismiss this dialog. Here's my newly minted My First drawing with all of its model space boundaries. This largest one here is set up so that it matches my largest piece of paper. If I switch over to the ANSI E layout, I can see that all of these other page borders are included in that because they would fit on an E-size piece of paper. I just want to demonstrate one more thing about the model space boundaries, and that's that they're lined up with the viewports that they're derived from. To demonstrate this, I'm just going to use a circle, and I'm going to draw that such that it cuts through a couple of these boundaries. And now as I switch among the different layouts, you can see the different boundaries and how they're meant to keep you safe within a model space that is unbounded. So use the boundaries, stay in the boundaries, and you'll be able to create a drawing that has readable, printable, repeatable text. Before we proceed, I want to go ahead and switch over to model space. And I want to hide some of these rectangles. Each one of these rectangles is on their own layer. And so I'll go ahead and pull up the layers dialog, and I'll just turn some of these layers off. In the parlance of the AutoCAD file, I will freeze the layer. That will hide it. This will leave me with my ANSI B page boundary. The next thing I'm going to do is open the equipment library and use it to add equipment to my drawing. The equipment library can be found on the database menu, it can be found on the advanced tools menu, it can be found on the Project Explorer tool panel here and here. The equipment library shows our manufacturers, the equipment for the selected manufacturer, and the equipment data for the selected equipment here on the front page. We've also got the shape that we can apply to that piece of equipment. And over here we have the inputs and outputs page. Here we'll select the 360 Systems Image Server 2000. We'll switch to the I/O page, and we'll select the ports that we're interested in. In this case, I'll go ahead and use all of them. As you can see, my display is grouped here, and I don't want to use the grouping for this, so I'll go to my Display Preferences tab, and I'll disable the input and output grouping. And maybe I want to use a rounded rectangle for my appearance here in this drawing. Once I'm happy with the appearance, I click Add to Drawing. And here I can place multiples. Next, I'm going to open the Draw Cables tool panel. I'm going to select my cable relationship. In this case, I just want a one-to-one cable, one output to one input, and I'll click Start Cable. I'll select the output that I want to draw from, followed by the input that I want to draw to, and here I'm going to deliberately mismatch a signal type so that you can see that WireCAD will warn you when you're doing that. but we'll let you do it. Let me get rid of this circle here. The next thing I want to do is to assign unique system identifiers to each of these pieces of equipment in my drawing. In order to do that, I just double-click the device. But before I do that, I want to check a setting on my Advanced Tools, and I just want to make sure that verbose sysname assignment is turned on. This will make sure that WireCAD stops in the middle and shows me the data before it gets submitted to the database. Other than that, I just double-click the block. WireCAD suggests the next number in the sequence for me and lets me provide a location and elevation. I may not know that at this point, but that's okay. We can always change it later. I'll click OK, and that'll submit the data to the drawing. And if I look at my project equipment list from my Project Explorer tool panel here, I'll see my newly minted Server 1. I mentioned that the location and elevation didn't matter. We can know that at any point. Here, I'm going to just go ahead and quickly add a new location to my locations lookup table. I'll call this Rack 1. And we'll say that this is going to go in at elevation 34. I'll save, and you'll notice that my changes to Ripple Across Project List has added one item to it. I'll save, and I'll be prompted to ripple. WireCAD reports back that it's updated no cables, because we haven't assigned any yet, and it updated Server 1 in the drawing, my first drawing. Let's go see that change now. We'll switch back here to our Server 1, and see that its location has changed to Rack 1.34. Rack 1, elevation 34. In order to assign this cable a number, I need to have sysnames on both ends of the cable. I'll go ahead and impatiently sysname this one now. Server 2, don't know about the location yet. That's okay. To assign a cable number, the verbose rules apply. I'll make sure that the verbose cable number assignment is turned on because I want to be involved. I'll double-click the cable, and here you'll see me select the cable first so that I can see where the grips are. The grips are these little blue squares, and I don't want to double-click them because they have different functions, mostly involved with moving the cable. I'll double-click here. WireCAD will again suggest the next number in the sequence for me. Pull the signal type off the ports in the drawing, get the information about that signal type and its default cable type, manufacturer, and part number, format the next number in the sequence for me, and present all of that information here. If I want to update any of the other information here, that's great. You can do that. In this case, I'll just go ahead and click OK. WireCAD will apply that number to the drawing, and a matching entry will now be found in the project cables database. The same rules with rippling apply here, only there are several columns that you can't ripple from. Sysnames and locations from here. Those are better done in grids elsewhere and to have their changes rippled here. Now that we've got this data, let's go ahead and report on it. I'll go to the Reports tab here, and I'll use this button here to expand my gallery. I'm looking first of all for a cable label. I'm going to use this Hellerman Titan 10L report here. And this particular cable label is set up to show the number, the signal type, and the drawing that this thing can be found on. But bear in mind that WireCAD has a built-in report designer where you can grab any of the fields available to the collection and drag them onto the sheet. So for example, if I wanted the source system identifier, I'd go get source sys and drag that on there somewhere. And now we'll print preview that. There are a bunch of reports in here that you're welcome to use. You can create your own. My recommendation there is to find something here that's close, open it in the designer and modify it. I'll open one more report. That'll be a cable run sheet. I'm going to open this run sheet 11 by 17 with parameters, just to demonstrate the versatility of the reporting engine. Here we've collected parameters from the end user. We've applied some of them to filters, but we've applied others to direct renderable elements. So, for example, the title can be collected as a parameter and submitted to the report without the end user having to actually go into the designer and modify that. Okay, so that's a little bit about getting started in WireCAD. We've created a project, we've added a drawing to that project, we've added equipment and cables to the drawing, and we've reported on it. Now, we haven't touched on any of the advanced features. We haven't talked about building racks or location-aware rack movement or anything like that, and I would suggest looking at some of the other videos for that kind of information. I thank you again for your time and for your interest in our products. Please keep sending suggestions and helping us make the product better for you. Thanks again. Chris out.